Or maybe somebody finally got a good taste of music and got rid of that shit.
You're so mean.
I just don't know your infatuation with fucking Mariah Carey.
She's got the biggest range of any pop singer in the history of pop, besides Axl Rose.
Oh my God.
That's it. She's simply the best.
To throw Axl Rose is one of the best. Oh my God.
Well, in terms of range, in terms of vocal range. All right. Are we going to see Brad?
How the fuck would any of us know, you know?
I know, right? All right, well, we'll get this thing started.
A drunk Dalton take.
Hello and welcome to this thing we call Minnesota Foul Play-by-Play. I'm your host, Anthony Variano. I'm joined today in the first show of 2024 by one brother Hawes, Michael, and my good friend and our baseball fantasy champion, Ruskin Howard. How are you, Ruskin?
Good, man. How are you?
Very good. I finally started working again. I'm driving Zamboni, so I'll get that fantasy money to you as soon as I get my first check.
It's all good.
Yeah, things got a little tight there for a while, but we're back on the bony and everything's going to be good. 2024 is going to be a good one. I hope. If it ends poorly, it'll be my last year in this country. I'll tell you that right now. But if things go well in November, I won't have to use my passport quite yet. But Ruskin's on to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is the bidding war of 2024. It's 2024, and you know what that means. The bidding war of 2024 has begun. The best wrestling talent in the business over these last few months is officially a free agent. Former Ring of Honor Tag Team Champion, former AEW World Heavyweight Champion, and recent National Jewish Sports Hall of Fame inductee, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, is a free agent. It's been rumored, but that MJF has already re-signed with AEW. And he's probably just on vacation because a heavyweight championship run is tough on the body, even if you wrestle as little as he does. It's hard to determine what's true and what's kayfabe in this business. Ruskin, what's your take? What do you know? What do you think you know?
Well, I wish I could say I knew something, but everything that I've seen on social media and everything is they aren't concerned. Either he has re-signed or they're not concerned about him not re-signing.
Yeah.
It sounded like his shoulder was getting pretty degraded there. So they taken some time off after, a pretty sustained championship run.
The longest
like you
in
said,
AEW history, right?
And
even though he's only wrestling pay-per-views and tag team matches in between.
Well, tag teams that were handicap matches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is true. You're right. He was taking on two wrestlers at a time while his good buddy Adam Cole was injured. So we don't have to get into that, but that's an incredible storyline for 2024 if he does return.
Yeah, and it was I could be wrong, but I think there were a couple of the pay-per-views where they defend the tag belts and he defended
on the same day at Wembley Stadium. It was the most incredible pay-per-view I've ever seen, the largest crowd in the history of professional wrestling. No big deal. He headlined that and he opened that. That's quite the champion. He managed to impress me. I knew he was a great heel, but the babyface turn was incredible. He actually has people loving him to death, and that is a great thing to have going into a contract year.
Yeah, he's kind of got that anti-hero role down. It reminds me a lot of like D-Generation X back in the Attitude Era. Like, it's supposed to be bad guys, but everybody loves them.
Mm-hmm.
So you look at The Rock and Chris Jericho and some of those big names who could pull that off. Like, they could be the bad guys, but people still cheer for him. So he's definitely making himself some money for sure.
Right. And it's just a matter of, do you think Tony Khan gives him equity in the company? Has he gotten to the executive vice president as, job title at this point? Because he's as valuable to AEW as any of those guys, frankly.
Well, part of me wonders if that's not a possibility, because I mean, I'm sure you saw like the Young Bucks relinquish those titles that they had. And then also today I saw a report, I forget, from a business journal, but apparently Amazon is the front runner to secure the broadcast rights to WWE Monday Night Raw.
Wow.
So that could, I mean, if they get, depending the money they get from the WWE gets from that, that's more that they could throw at him. So Tony might have to ante up a little bit more to. I mean,
and
he
Raw is the
can't
second
lose.
most watched wrestling show out there at this moment. They pulled 1.75 million viewers on their January 1st episode.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a massive fumble the bag if they don't keep him.
Right. They've been making great shows without him, though. Thanks to Minnesota's own Dante Martin has returned, and performances by luchadors like Commander and El Hijo del Vikingo. I mean, if you just finish every show with a bunch of luchadors doing a lot of things really fast, it's gonna go over really well. But my biggest, I'll give 2 thumbs way up to Tony Khan, who made considerable investment in the women's division, adding, spoiler alert, former Impact Knockouts world champion and Impact Knockouts world tag team champion Deonna Purrazzo, as well as Stardom star Mariah May, who just made her debut. They might now be the 2 best women's wrestlers on the roster, in my opinion. But spoiler alert, the woman of 1,000 holds, Serena Deeb, is also back. The return of the veteran. I'm so excited. 2024 is going to be so fun.
Yeah, they've really amped up the women's division a lot.
Well, they've really missed Britt Baker. Like, that's undeniable. Yeah. Like, there's not a lot of women's wrestlers on the roster right now who can do perfect wrestling on a regular basis. Like, we saw Chris Statlander and Willow just kind of stumble over each other in that pay-per-view match. It wasn't on the pay-per-view, it was on 0 Hour, but still,
the pre-show.
Yeah. And I mean, that's scary because that's how people get injured. And Deonna Purrazzo and Mariah May are those type of wrestlers. And I think that's really important to have on the roster. Somebody you can throw out there on a regular basis, like Orange Cassidy, my favorite Christmas gift of the year from my good buddy, Chad Braden. God, when I opened it, I turned into a 12-year-old girl, just like Mike did when Mike Trout gave him a baseball at a game in Target Field. He was 36.
Right here.
And he's got it right there. Look at that. I got to get the Marnie Gellner bottle on display. I finally found that.
Marnie Gellner.
You found the Marnie too. That's what happens when you move, right?
I've always had it. I never lost it.
I know, but you had no idea where it was until you started packing your shit for Missoula. Speaking of Missoula, fuck the Grizzlies. Go Rabbits, go. Boy, did they get their butts kicked by the Jackrabbits, and I love it.
Yeah.
Anywho, just closing out this AEW segment, the January 5th broadcast of AEW Rampage enjoyed its largest viewership since October 13th. That's according to WrestleNomics. And I think in terms of the quality of the shows, they've been some of my favorites because they feel like a throwback to back when I was watching them on YouTube for free, you know? So speaking of on YouTube for free, PWHL Minnesota started its home schedule with a Hattie from a Hotown hero. Former University of Minnesota star and Minnesota native Grace Zumwinkle scored the first ever hat trick in PWHL history as PWHL Minnesota shut out Montreal 3-0 to move to 2-0 on the season. Zumwinkle used to skate at Parade, I found out today from my boss. That's where I'm driving Zamboni and where I'm going to make enough money to give Ruskin his rightful winnings. Ruskin was only available for about 15 minutes. So if you got to dip out, Ruskin, we thank you for being on Minnesota Foul Play-by-Play.
Yeah, let me know. I'd definitely love to hop on for a more sustained broadcast next time. I just got some stuff I got to do for my job online here. So
Well, the voice sounds
Fuck,
good, bud, and I'm
John.
glad you're over whatever you had.
thanks. Yeah, feel better than I did then. So, well, you fellas have a good night. It's good to
Take
see
care,
you.
bud.
You
All right,
too.
later, Ruskin.
Peace.
All right. I got to tell you, Mike, that PWHL game was off the fucking chain.
No,
I mean, I don't know if you saw the video of me losing my goddamn mind as they celebrated right in front of me in my Xmas ugly sweater. I wore it because it was a festive day. It was one of the best days of my life, and that's wild to say. I have no regrets about dumping my Link season tickets because this is the best women's professional league out there right now. And I mean, the NWSL has tons of momentum. I understand that, but we are talking about a combination of physicality and speed and athleticism that just is not there. Like, they're checking. They legalized body checking, and it's awesome.
No, it's well, and I just think it's going to go so well. I mean, for the state of hockey itself,
Right.
I mean, shit in our little outline, like the notes you have for the amount of people they're watching, like this is freaking awesome. And the showing to the start of this season, I mean, we're leading the standings right now. It's just, it's going to be, that's going to be my jersey I buy this year is,
although
Minnesota
they're pretty
women's
generic.
hockey.
It's kind of sad how generic they are, but there's a reason behind it. Like, as a marketer, it makes perfect sense. Like, they're starting a new league. None of the teams have names. It's PWHL Montreal, PWHL Ottawa,
Yep.
PWHL Minnesota. And so every time somebody says the team name, they have to say the league acronym, which is a genius idea. Also, another genius idea I've got to mention, the free on YouTube. They said they already have 750,000 people watching the YouTube feeds of the games. That's incredible. Like, that's better than a lot of television shows.
Yes.
So they're not going to have any problem getting a broadcast deal. Bally Sports Plus is already on board and is, I believe, broadcasting games. So, I mean, things are going pretty goddamn well. The previous record for a women's pro hockey game was set a week prior to Wednesday. And it was 8,000 plus fans. There were 5,000 more than that at XL Energy Center. 13,316 of us. Woo! Yeah.
Well, no, and it couldn't have, you already stated, but it couldn't have started any better. Like, I mean,
a local score in the first ever hat trick in league history.
That's like old freaking Field of Dreams shit right there. Like, to start a league and to start off with a hat trick, especially a hometown hero, like that's I'm excited. I mean, we've been talking, me, you, and my brother have been talking about women's hockey for a while, but I mean, I think all three of us have been super stoked for what's happening now. Like,
well, we've all been waiting, and we're all stoked that it's all collectively bargained too, right? Like, that's what the whole fight was over. This is why we had the PHF for so long, and two leagues, fighting each other over, everything, revenue, viewership, etc., players even. And now, hopefully, the women are getting what they feel they deserve. At least they're getting a lot more than they did before. The quality of the game is so much better. From the games I saw last year, the speed is incredibly higher. Everything is just heightened. The athleticism, the physicality. There was no physicality in the PHF. There was, but it was more like rubbing rather than this is hits. If you're banging a play on the puck, you have a right to that space, and you can deliver a hit if you'd like. And it's starting to end up with women raising their hands and smelling gloves. Smell my glove.
No, I can't, and this is, I don't want to sound sexist because I don't mean it in any fashion, but like, that's why I loved living in Minnesota, even when I'm closer to that area, when you flip on the TV and like there's women's like good high school hockey or college hockey, like it's hockey. It's not even just women. It's just hockey. Like, it's what hockey's supposed to be. And that's that's what I think the product they're putting out right now is it's not women's
Just
hockey,
hockey.
it's not men's hockey, it's hockey, like the way it's supposed to be played. Like
Somebody who's sitting next to me, I'll be there all year, by the way, in row 2 in the corner on the shoot twice side on the side of the benches. And someone said to me that they fully expect a co-ed NHL all-star skills game where you play with like one girl and 2 guys. Oh my God.
oh God,
how fun is that going to be?
that would be really fun. So you're going to be at Wednesday's game then?
I'll be at all of them. Yes.
No, and that's what I'm not going to lie. Going into this season, I was a little skeptical, being that they're playing at the XL Center. But I mean, if they're
Filling
drawing
a third of
like
the third level. Yeah.
that's awesome.
I know.
I was scared that it would just be kind of
Right. It wouldn't look great on TV.
catchy.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
you wouldn't hear them. It's not the case at all. Well, in the first game especially, there were so many just young girls from programs throughout the Minnesota suburbs, the Twin Cities suburbs. And it was just awesome. They were stoked to be there, and I hope they're there every game. Usually, like, you go to a Timberwolves game when they do that stuff, when it's usually like most of the goddamn upper level is just screaming girls, and even the guys sound like girls because it's all like clubs when they do it for Lynx games and Timberwolves games, and it gets a little annoying because it's so high pitched. But the XL Energy Center is not the case at all. I mean, I heard them, but it wasn't overwhelming. And I think that's a sign that there's just as many, or there's twice as many, or 3 times as many adults there as there are kids there. And I think that's a good sign going forward. I mean, even if you're only selling 6,000 tickets for the rest of the games, I'd say that's probably a success, because that's way more than they would have sold at Richfield Arena where they were last year as the PHF. So yeah, things are looking up, and this league's taken off quick. So that's great news. And like I said, before the season even started, when we got Taylor Heisey #1 overall, when we got the #1 overall draft pick, who scored the very first goal by Minnesota in the league, our goaltending is elite. My God, pal. Okay, so Nicole Hensley had 33 saves on 35 chances in the first game against Boston, a 3-2 win. Manny Rooney stopped all 24 shots on goal in the shutout here on, was it Wednesday? I can't remember what day it was. It's all a blur at this point. But the third goaltender is Amanda Levier, the woman who carried us to the final last year, who had like 40 plus saves in a game, consecutive games en route to the final. We had no business being in that final. There was nothing on that team that said to me, we're going to be the second best team in the league come the end of the playoffs. And then Amanda Levier got healthy and just stopped everything. So they can go as far as they want to go depending on health. And that's fantastic. We've got a bona fide chance, a legitimate chance to win the whole damn league this year.
No, it's freaking sweet.
That's fun. We finally got a winner. Another winner, and it just happens to be women's. Okay.
So that's the state of Minnesota sports. You know, that's which good for the women.
Mm-hmm. Well, we finally got a winner on the men's hockey side. Did you see Marc-Andre Fleury's pair of saves in that game against Columbus?
I did not see that game, Tony. I did not see that game.
Okay, so they're down a goal with, it's probably the best final 5 minutes of a game I've ever seen. They're down a goal. They're trying to get Fleury off to get the extra skater on. And Fleury starts making his way to the bench, but here comes Columbus with the puck. He has to just book it back to the goal. He dives, makes a diving save. Puck rattles around the boards, comes all the way around. Wild score right after. Okay, tie the game. They go to overtime. And it took most of overtime in order for them to get the winner. But right before the winner, Marc-Andre Fleury again with one of these. He's just so and the way that guy plays and the way that he like catches pucks behind him. Oh God, it's just the best. He's fucking 40 years old, damn near.
No, it is. I totally agree. He is old as shit now, but some
is
of
he
his
fun to
saves
watch.
are freaking beautiful. Like they're
Yeah. No, they
just
belong
showstop.
in like a
Like,
fucking art museum. They're so good. They're so good. They built a fucking Lego Marc-Andre Fleury that's in, I believe, the Circle Las Vegas. So if you ever get down to Las Vegas again, there's a little bit of a museum. It's like a Lego museum. And there's a full-size Marc-Andre Fleury made out of Legos in that museum.
that's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah. So health is just really becoming a big problem for the Wild.
Yeah.
They've been without Jonas Brodin, Kirill Kaprizov, and Philip Gustafsson for, I want to say 5 games, but it's probably longer. And they've lost 3 of their last 4. They had to recall goaltending prospect Jasper Wallstead from Iowa, which is pretty indicative of what Gustafsson's injury is, because eventually they're going to have to play a back-to-back, and Fleury's not going to play both of those. So we'll probably get to see the debut of Wallstedt, and that's nice, but his AHL statistics as we speak is a 2.54 goals allowed average and a 917 save percentage. So
yeah,
by no means do I think he's ready, but he's going to have to be.
No, that kind of stinks to be brought up too early, but I mean that's the way sports plays out sometimes. But
yeah, tonight they're without captain Jared Spurgeon as well as Brodin, Kaprizov, and then Foligno's out as well. But at least they don't get Minnesota native Jake Ottinger in goal, who's just insane. So
it's like watching the freaking Dolphins defense.
Yeah. All right. A little bit of Wolves for you. Timber! Wolves falling back to earth. They're starting to slip. There's a glaring need. We've been talking about it on this show. They struggle to defend the backcourt against smaller, quicker lineups. Teams can play Rudy Gobert off the floor at times by going small. And when you have a ball handler / distributor / scorer like Luka Doncic, we really don't really have an answer for that guy, especially when the third scorer for the opposing team is always open because Karl Anthony Towns is on the floor. My favorite cousin and I have been talking about this all season. We believe Towns to be a liability come playoff time, and that there's got to be a trade made in order for them to actually have a championship aspirations, even to get there, because the Oklahoma City Thunder, they can't play with them. That has been decided. Like, I've seen it, and that small lineup just destroys us, and there's no remedying that with Karl Anthony Towns on the floor, and his replacement is also not good enough defending the perimeter. Naz Reid would be that man, even though he's terrific. So they need a 3-and-D guy who can create his own shot off the dribble. We've been saying this, Joel and I, all season. They're relying way too much on Anthony Edwards to create in the fourth quarter, and it won't be enough in the playoffs. That's my thing. Brad and I lost our asses on that Oklahoma City Thunder game. We were not pleased with the performance, but we learned a lot losing all that money. So there's that. At least we learned something from all the money we lost, right? All right, let's get to the Vikings, Mike. Finally, something that you can talk about.
Well, before we get to the Vikes, how about I update our viewers on what the Twins have done this offseason?
Yeah, please do. Shit, you can update me. Is this segment going to be like 0 seconds long? Because I don't think they've done much.
I was gonna say we haven't done anything.
Except announce that we're going to spend less next year. Yeah.
Oh God, I can't take our ownership. Like, well, it's like this every year. I get sick of. It's whatever.
Well, it is a business, Mike, right? So like they're basing their spending on potential revenue. And
yeah, that's my thing. It is a business, and then you watch other teams who treat it like a business, who can fucking sign Shohei Ohtani and sign fucking the best Japanese pitcher and sign all this, and you're just sitting on your hands. Like,
doesn't stop the Arizona Diamondbacks from bunting their way into the goddamn World Series, or the Rays being a perennial competitive playoff team. I mean,
oh no, I totally agree. I just get we built up a core though last year, which like I'm not gonna lie, as it sits right now, like I like our core of Jeffers, Kirilloff, Polanco, Correa, Lewis, Wallner, Buxton, Kepler, Julian,
Lopez.
and we got Farm Dog on the bench, like Larnick on the bench. Vasquez. Well, actually, we just got rid of Vasquez, didn't we? I can't. I don't
I
even
hope
know.
so. That contract was terrible. There's no way.
Actually, no. We
be able to
still
get rid
got
of that.
Vasquez. We still
Yeah.
got Vasquez. We got to move him. I mean, we need.
It's a good backup, but I mean, pay him $10 million is ridiculous.
We need another. We need another arm for our rotation, and that's.
Yeah, we do.
We talked a lot, and then we can move on to the Vikings because there's literally nothing to update on the Twins. But I am taking a new hot take. Like I mean, baseball, like true baseball fans, we love our prospects almost more than we love the actual players on the team. And I'm saying it right now, whether it's Brooks Lee, God, I really don't want him to give up Walker Jenkins. That guy's going to be fucking a stud. Like that was the picture I said. He just looks like an athlete none of us could ever be.
Well, it's the perfect. He's playing for the perfect team at the time too, because it's got muscles.
Oh God, the muscles and
he's just jacked. That's what I'm looking. That's what I'm hoping to get looking like in 2024. It's my New Year's resolution.
And he's so
look like that guy.
He's so young, but after that draft, I mean, a stacked draft. Once he got called up to Pro Bowl, I don't have the numbers in front of me. He just fucking rocked. He's a freaking stud. But my hot take is, with the core we have now, with Correa, and even if we keep Polanco or Kepler, which I would assume one of them will get moved, but we're to get the kind of arm I want to get and to actually make a run with this core, which I don't know why we signed Correa when we got Lewis finally breaking into the league.
Whoa. Why we signed Correa?
No, I'm saying I don't know why we signed Correa unless we're going to make a run during this window. So my thing is...
Well, that's the plan. You've got a potential Cy Young winner on the mound who can win you 2 games of a 7-game series or a 5-game series.
We need that number 2, though. And
you do. And you know what? Sonny Gray was never that number 2. Like, we saw that in the playoffs. So I don't think we lost the runner-up in the Cy Young necessarily. I think we lost a guy that is replaceable, but it's going to have to be through trade.
No, and that's my hot take. I'm willing to trade Brooks Lee or one of our top 5 prospects, even 2 of them, if it gives us a sustainable arm for 3 to 4 years, kind of like we got with Pablo Lopez.
Right.
Got to be to that caliber or better, but I'm willing to trade the top prospect Walker Jenkins if it gives us 3 to 4 years of controllable arm of a fucking ace-like character. Because I getting sick of fucking competitive rebuilds and blah blah blah. Right. Maybe this is the Minnesota Vikings in me coming out now. I want to fucking win. Put it all on the table. Let's try to win. If it doesn't work, boom, we rebuild for a while, because we don't want to be stuck like the Minnesota Vikings where they're just it's a broken repeat. I mean, you always get close. Yeah.
They're not willing to look bad, although they are embarrassing on primetime television on a regular basis. It's maddening. God, these hats are warm.
That's a good transition into the Vikings right there.
It sure is.
Because the state of the Vikings is horrible. I don't know when it gets better.
I mean, it could be worse. They've got 9 draft picks, including the 11th overall pick, and $37 million in cap space for 2024. They've never had that. Like, $37 million is a lot of money, except for how much of it is going to Justin Jefferson and how much is going to Kirk Cousins, because it seems like both of those guys have to come back because the people demand it. They love Kirk Cousins here, and it's wild and crazy, and he's great. I got nothing against the man. He's terrific. He throws an awesome deep ball. He's incredibly accurate. He's just not going to move and extend the play for you. So where does that get you behind the offensive line that we have, which is every time at the end of the season, I see 3 guys up there that I have never heard of. Fucking Brandel? Who the fuck is Brandel?
I mean, injuries started to play into that shit. And
But
then
that always does. You got to have depth in this league. Obviously, that showed up when we lost Cousins, had to go get Dobbs, and Dobbs miraculously wins us a couple games and then turns into Dobbs.
no, and that's
how did we overlook the value of a backup quarterback?
No, where the fuck is well, we didn't. If you look at we got what 9 picks going into this next year, and if you look at God bless, I mean the brass of the Vikings. I mean, they do make it interesting. I mean, fucking the way we move picks and shit.
Yeah, they are the funnest team to watch on draft day, in my opinion.
It's impossible to keep up with them. Yeah. But you look at the picks,
they'll turn that into like 13 or 14 picks. That's what they'll do. And then they'll sign, but then they'll sign 2 undrafted free agents, and those 2 will end up being their 2 best players, which is just wild and crazy. Like, our 2 best defensive players went undrafted. How?
Yeah.
How? And what happened to the defense? Okay, so like cornerback, obviously an issue, right? Started, seeing the depth that we had at cornerback towards the end of the season. I was just like, well, we can't have Evans out there because he can't tackle nobody. And apparently he can't cover nobody either. He's smaller than everyone. He can't, defend the jump ball. So you gotta give him help like all the time. It's becoming harder and harder to provide help to cornerbacks. We're stretched so thin defensively now with the way the game is played.
I totally agree. I guess I don't know how this discussion's going to go. And I honestly don't today, like as of today's date, I understand the NFL season's over because they're fucking done.
Well, it's not. I mean, the Steelers still have a game to play. That's another thing that bothers me is like Mike Tomlin could be the coach of the Minnesota Vikings and we might have never missed the playoffs in 18 years. Like, and he takes 3 quarterbacks. He plays 3 quarterbacks this season and still manages to make the goddamn playoffs.
No, and that's the weird like take is like sitting here today. Like I honestly, like going into next year's draft, I honestly don't. I just kind of want to sit back and watch. Like, I don't know what they should do. Like, because I don't know what the answer is with where we're left right now. Like,
well, I think you got to see how the board plays out, right? Because like Tyler Culver, a friend of the show, says there could be 6 goddamn quarterbacks taken by the time the 11th pick comes around, which is wild and crazy to think about. But if that's the case, then the top edge rusher or the second best edge rusher in the draft is probably available. And that's where you go because you're not going to be able to afford Danielle Hunter. The guy fucking played his way off the team. We don't have the cap space for him.
No,
16.5 sacks is playing your way into a threshold we can't, overcome financially.
I think you guys are both right. I think that's likely what the Vikings will do, is probably take the top edge rusher off the board just because it's 2024. We thought we'd get more out of 2023, which we didn't. So it's like we wasted, God, at the trade deadline. It was just like, we could have got a 2nd round pick for fucking Hunter. Yeah. Like, we could have got something.
Right. This is why I said at 1 and 3, we should tank. Like, it just took too long for Kirk Cousins to blow that Achilles.
No, and I don't know if we have the draft capital. If we actually do want to say, what, we're going to do a rebuild. I don't know if we got the draft capital to move up into the top 6 because we don't have a 2nd round pick. We would have to get creative about fucking giving.
It makes me wonder if Justin Jefferson is going to not be with the Vikings next year. That's the only thing I think is like Jordan Addison obviously played his way, showed that he could be the number 1 wide receiver on the team. And maybe they're just like, well, maybe we don't need Justin Jefferson anymore.
Well, no, but that's
wild because he's been the best wide receiver in football over his first. He had over 1,000-yard season in 10 games this year. 3 people have done that.
But our hands are tied with who owns the top capital, though, because it's like the Bears aren't going to trade with us.
No.
Like, they need a receiver. Like, if they're going to keep Justin Fields with, they're going, mocks are going everywhere with the Bears. I mean, if they keep
this rumor
Fields,
that they're asking for a second or third round pick for Fields? Isn't he an unrestricted free agent?
He should have. He's got to have a year or two left, I'm guessing, under control.
Okay.
No, I saw it.
Through 2024. So he's got next year with a 5th-year option available. So 2 years of control.
2 years, yeah. No, I saw a creative mock draft. I think it was CBS Sports that did it, where they get a haul. They trade just down 1 pick from Washington, and they get their 2nd-round pick, 1st-round pick from next year. And I mean, they get the best receiver. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to be a stud.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's a team that needs a legit receiver to be a complementary receiver with what they have.
You're right. I said weeks ago that I think it'd be pretty silly to move on from Fields. Like, he's shown flashes of brilliance out there. He really doesn't have those weapons around him. Imagine him with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson, the Suns. Wow. And running ability on top of that.
That's where they're just in I think the weirdest, toughest spot where I think they've got the capital, depending on how the draft plays out, to move up to like 7, maybe 6, 7, or 8. But if we're trading next year's 1st-round pick, like, I'm sorry.
You got to replace.
I don't know if I give up
Smith too. You got to find a safety who can start immediately. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of holes on this team. The interior defense is bad too. According to Alec Lewis of The Athletic, they ranked 27th in defensive success rate against the run. So there's that to fix as well. Yeah, they got considerable problems, which I guess we should give coaching a lot of credit for. I mean, they've been competitive in just about every game they played for 2 years. I mean, they've been blown out a couple times, but that's saying a lot. I mean, just being in games despite all those deficiencies, they overcame a lot. God, I can't believe they made Nick Mullins a 300-yard passer. He threw the ball over 40 times.
I think, and I don't know. And I mean, you brought up Michael Penix, but
I think it's Penix.
Penix. Jesus.
Wow.
Oh God, I got cock on my mind.
I would have. I really would have. I'd really love to have that cock on my team. He's like 25 years old. He's had all kinds of injuries that basically held him back his entire career. I don't think
the age is the thing that concerns me about him. I mean, 25, who cares? Then you get.
I've seen all I need to see. The man throws a beautiful deep ball. He's Kirk Cousins with some mobility. He might not be as willing to run as you would think he is, given his athleticism, but he can move when he wants to. But he's a pocket passer, and he can throw it deep, and he can throw it accurately.
No, and I don't know if I would. There's some mocks that are having him go like 8, 9. Shit, this one has the Falcons taking him an 8.
Yeah.
Like, if we're going to trade up to try to get one of the top 4 QBs, I mean, we're not going to be able to get Drake May. Obviously, we're not going to be able to get Caleb Williams.
Right.
I think depending how the draft goes, the only one I would trade up where I'd mortgage the future to get the 3rd would be Jaden Daniels.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense, right?
If we're not going to trade up to get one of them, and he doesn't follow us at 11, I think we either take an edge or we trade down and take one of the top 2 corners off the board.
Yeah.
Because there are some stud cornerbacks, and there is. I know Rice shouldn't play into it, but there's a white cornerback which Minnesota fans would love, because Minnesota Vikings fans are, sad to say, a little bit racist. I mean,
Harrison Smith's one of the best-selling jerseys on the team, I think.
I mean, that Cooper DeJean from Iowa. He would sell a lot of fucking jerseys.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Um,
Maybe even some season tickets.
so would the cornerbacks. I just fucking love the cornerbacks this year. Kool-Aid McKinstry.
I
That's
saw
the coolest
that.
fucking
Yeah.
name ever.
Dude.
Like,
Shop Robinson is a top 10 pick. That is the guy I want on my team. We've been Minnesota Foul Play-by-Play. Thank you for joining us. You can find us at Minnesota Foul Play-by-Play on YouTube.